Welcome to the Do It Anyway podcast. I am your host, Maria Redman, here to take you on the wild journey of all things fitness, nutrition, and wellness. And let me just say, this is the first time we've got the intro done in one shot. We're going to take a moment
Woo!
and applaud that thing.
Yes! Did you see that look? That was
It
impeccable.
was perfect.
Perfect.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 20. Thank you so much for joining me on another weekly episode. I appreciate all the love and support that I've gotten. The channel is actually growing really well. I'm over 200 subscribers right now, so thank you so very much. To all of you that have left comments and questions, I have gone back and I've reached out to each and every one of them and answered them. And so if you're new to this channel, welcome. Please know that I'm a real person with a real face. So if there's anything you want to know, feel free to leave comments or ask questions down below, and I will try to get back to them. In addition, if there's something that you'd like to see me cover, please feel free to leave that as well in the comments. Actually, today's segment is going to be off of a question that was asked from a previous podcast. So I definitely have no problems doing that, and I really enjoy it. So anything to help all of you learn. With that being said, be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and you can catch all the episodes also on Spotify and Applecast. And so today, episode 20, right? Drum roll. We are going to discuss something that I think is really popular to mainstream and maybe not discussed as much. And I was grateful to get this question from a viewer, so thank you so much. It's about the effects of alcohol on muscle gain. Um, to go back for a moment, part of that question was also, do I drink? And the answer to that question is no, I don't drink at all. I used to in the past. I'm not, foreign to alcohol at all. But once I really got serious into my fitness, that definitely changed for me. And fun, not so fun fact. Unfortunately, my ex-husband was an alcoholic and an addict. So for me personally, it just kind of took whatever we thought fun was when we are partaking in alcohol out of it for me. And I also grew up in a home with an alcoholic father. So I was always surrounded in a negative light by it. So not very impressed with alcohol overall. And honestly, I just never felt good days after I had anything to drink, even if it was just one drink. And so when I weighed it all out in the grand scheme of things, it just wasn't worth it for me. And so when fitness came along, it definitely just was like, I don't really need to have it. I will say, however, if there's a special occasion that comes about, I may have a few sips of wine, but highly unlikely. That's just kind of where I sit with it. And there's really the real reasons why to that from a fitness perspective. I'm going to give it to you here. So, number one, the effects of alcohol on your muscle mass. This one is really huge. It decreases something in your body called your protein muscle synthesis. Protein muscle synthesis is what you need for your muscles to actually grow. So when you go to the gym and you exercise and train and you break them down, that protein synthesis is what helps them regroup, regrow, recharge, and build the lean tissue. When you drink alcohol, it slows that process down exponentially. I mean, by quite a bit. So for me personally, that is like the main reason to not have, alcohol in my system. If I want to keep my lean muscle tissue, or even if I want to build any muscle tissue, it is imperative that I just leave that off the table. So if you're really serious about your fitness and, you're a person that really likes to drink, I get it. This might be something that you want to consider. So that's number one. Number two is another big reason for both men and women: hormonal imbalance. It severely messes with your hormonal balance. It will drop your testosterone levels by quite a bit. Now, we all know for men and women, you need testosterone to build lean muscle tissue. And if you're constantly drinking, if you're a person that drinks a lot and you're making this imbalance happen often, going to the gym and training and thinking that you're going to get this fit body is definitely not going to happen. It also messes with another very important hormone called your cortisol. Cortisol is directly linked. It's a stress hormone. Your body's in stress when you drink alcohol, even though you feel great. It's actually under stress. Um, Cortisol, that stress hormone, actually increases abdominal fat in most people. So here it is now you're drinking, you're constantly raising your cortisol levels, you're decreasing testosterone levels. You've got a good recipe going on already for fat gain and muscle loss, along with the protein synthesis process also being disrupted. So now you're just in a negative state. And when you really think about it, at the grand scheme of things, how good did the alcohol really taste if you're really doing this much damage in just the first two things that I've mentioned? So, that's another thing to kind of just really just take some time and consider, when you're drinking alcohol, how much of it and how often. The next big one is something that I have watched competitors in the bodybuilding space, females in particular, utilize for backstage, which is kind of nuts and crazy on its face, but they've done it. Alcohol is big on dehydrating. It will dehydrate you to nobody's business. It's actually used by a lot of competitors as a diuretic. So women would get pretty shredded for shows, and then backstage are like pounding, 5, 6 ounces of wine before they get on stage. Now these women are drunk off their asses. I mean, drunk, but they felt like they looked good. They get extravascular, and so they would use that technique. It's not a very good technique to use for that. It's very crazy. But if you're a person that doesn't compete, excuse me, and you're one who you're constantly drinking, you're constantly in a dehydrated state. That impairs recovery. It stops muscle function. Um, your performance level goes down drastically. And here's the big kicker: it dries out your ligaments and tendons. And if you're lifting weights and you're doing any type of volume or heavy lifting, you're definitely inching yourself towards a major injury extremely fast. So you need to be very careful of that. If you're a guy, girl, and you're doing a lot of drinking and you're also in the gym, you need to be very, very careful on what you're doing there. You make sure that you're hydrating at the very least so that you can balance that whole process out, because you're just an injury waiting to happen if you're not hydrated. So that's a really big one for me. Like, knowing that I can get an injury just off of drinking something that I peed out, you know, hours later, and then is gone weeks, from now, and it's created months and months and months of an injury that may put me out of what I love to do. It just does not seem worth it to me. So that's another major one. If you're a person that drinks a lot and you suffer from insomnia, alcohol is probably your biggest reason. It it disrupts all of your sleeping patterns. Alcohol in large amounts will totally tear up the quality of your sleep. Getting into REM sleep is going to be almost non existent. It's weird because a lot of people think when they drink a lot and they're super drunk and they go to sleep, they're kind of feel like they're knocked out. And technically you are knocked out, but the quality of the sleep that you're getting, that your body should be getting, is not happening. Also, if you think about when you drink, most people drink later in the evening, into late night. You've already thrown off your circadian rhythm, your sleeping rhythm, because you're up later than you normally would be. And then you're throwing alcohol on top of it. Your whole system is in a complete state of shock and stress. And so, even though you eventually do go to sleep, it's not very restful. And this is why you tend to feel really horrible the next day and sometimes another day after that, because your body has to find a whole new reset to get back to what's called homeostasis, its natural balance. So, it really, really disrupts your sleep patterns. And so, that's another reason, that you want to stay away from it, because a Friday night party can totally, first of all, calorically ruin all the work you've done in the gym all week long. That's number one, just from a calorie standpoint. But number two, all of that stress that you've done to your body can kind of really put you back on your heels until about Tuesday, of the next week before your body kind of gets back going to the optimal level. Unless you're some kind of like, I don't know, master drinker whose body just, there we all have that one friend that it seems like nothing ever bothers them. So, unless you're that person, but most of us are not that person, so be mindful of that. Um, Next, it slows down your metabolism. It severely halts your metabolism, which is extremely, for me, I'm just like, I don't need anything slowing my metabolism down at all. I struggled with getting my metabolism to an optimal level. I had a low thyroid, and the thought of something that I drank slowing down my metabolism and how much calories I could burn effectively just seems cray cray to me. I'm just saying. So it definitely slows your fat metabolism, your metabolism down, and um, it's toxic, right? So you're putting a lot of toxins into the body that your liver and kidneys have to kind of like forget everything else it needs to process and do their job and focus on trying to get that toxin out. And that also creates an extremely amount of huge stress on the body. So if you're a person and you're in your fat loss journey and you're really trying to be focused and you're saying, oh, well, 1 day a week, 2 days a week, I'm going to get trash because it's my weekend and I've earned it. I would almost rather you pick food to do it with versus alcohol because it will set you further back. Alcohol will than having meals for the most part, depending, of course, how much you have. And really, the reason is because, I mean, aside from drinking wine, if you're having straight up alcohol, you're mixing it with all the different chasers that are sweet, right? And we all know as soon as the word shots comes out, now your inhibitions are gone and you're going to drink more of the mixed drink than you were having before. And if you know anything about bars, if you drink enough, and if maybe you don't, bartenders know it's all about saving alcohol at the end of the day. So at the beginning, your drinks are heavy. Towards the end of the night, your drinks are nowhere near as heavy as you think, especially if they're a mixed drink. They're giving you more of the fruit punch and the other punches, whatever the mixer, the chaser is in there, more of that so that they can get the same dollar amount from you, save their inventory, and you're already drunk, so you really don't know the difference. So now you're just putting more sugar into your system, which is extra horrible because it dehydrates, and now you're putting sugar in your system, straight up glucose from all the drinks, and that throws off your electrolyte balance, which is a whole nother problem. Any of you ever have a night of drinking and then get home and start having severe cramps in your legs and things like that? That's what's happening. So your electrolyte balance gets completely thrown off, and that's now a whole nother problem that you're dealing with post the night of fun where you're not having so much fun. So it messes with your metabolism of fat. It messes with the way your body oxidizes fat. So, I mean, it literally inhibits the process of how your body will take a fat cell, open it up, and break it down. And this process can last for about 5 days post alcohol drinking on someone who's really like gone in on like if you had a drink or two, not so much. But once you start really getting into the nuts and bolts of like drinks, yeah, this is where you don't oxidize fat very long. So, very well. And so you need to definitely make sure that, you're being mindful of that because if you're into fitness and you're trying to lose weight or fat, it's not going to happen. So be mindful there. Next, I think I just touched on it a moment ago. It's empty calories. For me, because I love the numbers of nutrition, I started looking at like how much calories are in a drink. So on average, you're talking about 7 calories per gram um, of alcohol, and this can vary depending on your wines. White wine sometimes is up to like 9 or 10. Well, I started thinking about that. You're getting all of this, alcohol, and no one's having a gram of alcohol, right? So, on average, between the chaser and the alcohol, your drink is going to run you about between 150 to 200 calories, even on wine. In my mind, I could have made a nice burger at home with a bun and felt more satisfied, felt like I had an off plan meal and didn't feel guilty about what I had just eaten versus having multiple glasses of wine, multiple drinks, cocktails. And then in the moment when you're rah, rah, you're having a good time, you're laughing, you and your guys and your girlfriends. But then we all know that guilty feeling when you get in your car for most of us is, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have drank that much. And then the next day comes, oh my gosh, I don't feel good. This was ridiculous. You start really feeling very down on yourself. Small bouts of depression start to sink in. And for some of us that are on the fitness journey, you say, well, I already messed up on Friday. So you start to ruin your whole Saturday, nutrition and maybe more drinking, right? So it becomes this like vicious cycle that you get into that's very difficult to step back out of when Monday comes, right? And really, you just feel like pure garbage. Then you get on the scale. The scale is 100% going to be up from, a bender of drinking, because when you drink, you probably eat as well. Like those two go hand in hand, right? We need the fries to soak up the alcohol, which that is not a thing. First of, can we just say this? I mean, eating food, and you do want to have food in your belly if you're going to drink, but the fries are not soaking it up. It's not how that works. So we should stop saying that. I know we think we are, but it's not a thing. So now we've eaten junk food, whatever it may be, with a bunch of alcohol. You get on your scale and you're up 5 pounds. Now you've got a whole different psychological problem going on. Let me just say that if this is you and if this has happened to you, first and foremost, don't beat yourself up, right? There's plenty other people that have gone through this and have done this. Even hell, in the past, I have done it. First of all, you didn't gain 5 pounds of fat. Let's just put that out there. It's going to be water weight. Um, However, that being said, it has done some damage internally to you that's going to take a little bit longer to, you know, fix. And so I don't want you to get caught up so much on the scale. I'd rather you get caught up on your health, internal health, which is what you can't see, right? So put a little bit more thought into, I'm going to have a drink maybe tonight or tomorrow night because I want to have a good time or I want to enjoy a drink. Some people really do like to have a drink, but also think about your ongoing health thereafter because that's like a really, really big deal. And so, mindset is what you're going to have to work with. I've got a client that just spent an entire week with her husband out in Vegas. Um, they're doing like a Netflix documentary. They own race horses and they party. They party, they party, they party. And she's in really good shape. We work very hard. But, last week I set her up with a whole different set of intentions. We worked on mindset. And then I went through and picked out all of the meals for her that she should have while she's on her trip. And I said, hey, look, if we're going to drink, okay, let's have a drink. Let's sip it slow, but let's also have some water in between every drink. 16 to 18 ounces must be had before you take another sip of said drink or, finishing a whole drink, I should say. So that was extremely effective for her this trip. She was very, very worried about what was going to happen. And she drank on the first day and followed all of the rules and didn't drink the rest of the week and was completely fine and actually came back 1 pound down on a 5 week trip with only 1 day of exercise. Let me caveat that. So, she did really well. So it can be done. It's really about setting intentions and your mindset so that you can kind of make it through. Um, if you're a person that drinks every single day um, because you say, I need to have a drink, I want to urge you to maybe seek some counseling. I'm not saying that you're an alcoholic. I'm not saying that, but there's some underlying issues, right, that is making you feel like you need something to decompress every single day. Um, if you need it every day, that means you're dealing with a major problem that's continuous, that's ongoing, whether it be your home life, work, whatever the case may be. I would urge you to start to get to the bottom of it. And if you can't afford, some counseling, maybe just starting out with a journal, do some self reflection and analyzation. I think we all should be doing that on a wealth of different issues that when we face them, start to journal out and kind of get to the bottom of why you feel like you need a drink to relax you. We are all built with the same autonomic system to be able to make ourselves happy, make ourselves sad, make ourselves relaxed, etc., etc. So we all should be able to self-regulate, and you really shouldn't need to have a drink every day to regulate. So, no judgment zone, but just know that you might feel relaxed for the moment, but clearly the problem is happening the next day and you're not relaxed again. So get to the bottom of what that really is so that you can start to feel better and not needing a drink every day to do it. Um, Next thing, and I mentioned this just briefly with drinking, overeating of the calories. And the reason why you do that is because once you have a certain amount of drinks, all of your inhibitions are just gone. You're there, your brain almost like it shuts off. It's not logical anymore. And so people could bring a pig stuffed with lobster, which sounds extremely disgusting, but someone will be like, bacon and lobster, let's go. Because everyone is drunk and now people are eating out of a pig's gut lobster. It totally makes you into a crazy person to the point where you're not making good choices, and that's how you end up having, three burgers, french fries, and a milkshake, at 4 o'clock in the morning when you don't typically ever have that. So be mindful there. So those are the major reasons why alcohol has an effect on muscle gain and fat loss, for both men and women. It does affect people differently. It's funny, Ben and I were just talking about the effects of it based off of blood volume. So if you're a smaller person, you're going to have more, heck of a lot more impact on your system versus if you're a larger person. That is a real thing. But nonetheless, it still does damage all the same. So be mindful and think about what's more important to you. 5 to 10 minutes of some drinks that may set you back 4 days, or just really enjoying being with your friends and family, whomever you're out with, and saying, I'm happy to be here. Like, I don't need to have a drink to have a good time. And so I want you guys really to be more present and focus on the real reason that you're at said event. It's for the people, not really for the food and drinks, unless you are really just for the food and drinks. There are a few of us. So, um, now, are there better types of alcohol than others? Because I know people are like, I hear you, Maria, but I just need a little something. So tell me, can I get a little something, something? So, yes, there is a little something, something. And I have a trick that I also share with my clients. So, um, better types of alcohol to drink. Again, they're not healthy, but there are better types. So, if you're a beer drinker, I know my beer drinkers are going to be like, you got to be kidding me. Go to a light beer. I know. It's not an IPA. I get it. But light beer, from what I hear, has come a long way. I cannot speak from experience, but um, light beer is going to be better than any of your other beers to have fewer calories, and it also contains less alcohol. Now, caveat, because it's a light beer, if you do like to drink beer, I could see this becoming a thing where you're drinking a ton more beer, like ordering almost double of what you would have had if you'd had a regular beer because they're light beers. If that's the case, then I'd best just say have one regular beer. But if you're okay switching to a light beer, switch to a light beer at the same quantity that you would normally have in regular beer, and you'll be less in your caloric and alcohol consumption there. Wine, if you're a wine drinker, I always say pick red over white. White's going to yield more calories, more sugar base. Um, a good, really good glass of red wine has a lot of antioxidants in it, which has some health benefits. But if you start drinking too much red wine, like after 2 glasses of red wine, the benefits of the antioxidants are out the window because the alcohol consumption of it takes over. So go with reds. Really, really deep reds tend to be really good with the antioxidants. Um, Now, if you're an alcohol drinker, like liquor, spirits, I guess, cocktails, I would always recommend going for clear, your whites. So your vodka, your gin, tequila. even whiskey. They're very, very low calorie. Now, this is the sneaky trick that I have for my clients that love to drink these. Instead of doing a juice tracer, you're going to want to go and get either your Crystal Light packets. I've done an episode on the packets before, or the squeezable Mio liquid drinks, water flavors. You can get that. So you get your vodka water and get regular water. Actually, instead of getting like tonic, I say I want sparkling water. So I get I would use back in the day, a vodka sparkling water, and then I'd squeeze some of my flavoring in there. This is a game changer, guys, because you can have whatever flavor drink you want. There were times back in the day, and there weren't even that many flavors back then of Crystal Light. You had your basics. I would do a fruit punch, grape, and strawberry watermelon mix with tequila. Mwah. It was like mwah. And everyone would be like, "Oh my gosh, what are you drinking? It looks so refreshing." And yeah, so that is a great way to save a ton of calories on chasers, like huge. So give that a try. So again, stick with your vodka, your gin, your tequila, and whiskey. I've never had whiskey. Couldn't tell you what it tastes like, but people really love it. I think, average shot of whiskey is like 70 calories. I probably wouldn't want to put water flavoring in a whiskey. Just doesn't sound like that goes together. So, I don't know what gets mixed in whiskey. I think maybe whiskey's just drink straight up. I don't know. Don't know anything about whiskey. Stay away from your Cavassier, your Remy, any of those darker liquors. But
I
you
was
have to
just
go.
gonna say sometimes people will put in bourbon or whiskey, they'll put just the ice and let that water,
Okay,
like just water it down a little
right.
bit. That's
That's it. So it's drink what they call neat,
yeah,
a whiskey neat.
exactly.
Okay,
Whiskey neat.
so
Yeah.
whiskey neat. Let your ice melt. Don't add anything to it. So that's what you're looking at there. Overall, I want to stress to you that because just because I don't drink, I'm not saying hey don't drink. I just think that maybe spreading don't drinking during the week probably isn't necessary. Like ladies, having that glass of wine every night. I mean, unless you have a heart condition, honestly, don't do it to yourself, especially if you're in the menopausal stage because we're really throwing hormonal balance off quite a bit. This is why women in their late 30s and the whole 40, you know, 40-year-old age group are really struggling with belly fat. You are totally raising cortisol each and every night just drinking that wine. Um, Try to really limit it. When I started to slow down on drinking, it became a thing of I'm only going to drink if I went out to dinner, and that was it. And I'd have my glass of wine then, and that was I was fine with it. I would just take my time drinking it, and that's how I did it. And I want to tell you to do the same, because it's just when I weigh what it does for me versus not having it, it's just it doesn't add up. It just does not add up, people. It doesn't add up. So it's not that important to have. And if you feel like a fiend, like if you're like, no, I have to have something to drink, honestly, there's a bigger problem at play. And it's not, you're not just drinking for leisure at that point. You really have some deeper issues. And I know that might be tough to hear, but I care about everyone's health and wellness. And so, you know, your family might not want to call it out, but, I'm going to call it out. Got some problems. Deal with them, whatever, in whatever manner that you can. So, um, in closing, I want to just let if you want to grow those muscles in the gym, so you get some of that, you gotta decrease that. That's the no alcohol bicep. That's what that is. Did you see the peak? Did you see it? No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. The peak has nothing to do with anything. But no, seriously, if you're trying to really get in really good shape and lose belly fat, lose fat, period, and put on lean muscle tissue, alcohol is definitely going to make that process a lot slower. And the more you take it in, the slower that process becomes. And the older you become and you're doing that, the harder it's going to be. So try to get that, make that something that you reverse. Now, there is a product that I came across. I have not tried it. I'm going to order it. It's from the company called Calming Co. And it is, I'm not certain what's in it, but everyone on this particular video that I saw seemed to be drinking it and felt very relaxed and felt like they had a drink, a buzz with, they said a buzz without the buzz. So I'm going to look into that and I'll come back in a later episode and share that product. I want to definitely give it a try first, taste, feel, all that good stuff before I say I approve of it.
Is it like a kava or something?
It's
Is it
not a
like a
kava. I thought,
kratom
yeah,
or something?
I didn't see kava or kratom in it, so I was kind of like, I don't know what's in here, but
Okay.
yeah, I need to kind of get a better, idea of it. But it looked very refreshing and it had flavors, so
Okay.
we'll see on that. I do want to do an episode on kava and kratom because I think that's another thing that's those kind of cafes are starting to pop up all around,
I'm
and
really curious on your
yeah,
take
my
on it.
take on it.
I'm
Yeah,
actually that's actually a little teaser for
yeah,
something I would
that's
love to hear
yes.
because we'll talk off screen.
Yeah, we'll
But
talk, but you will definitely, I'll put together for you guys that it's something definitely, it's not new, but it's becoming more popular as of late. So I'll talk about those. But I say that to say that there are other alternatives, in terms of having a drink that you can try. There are also a couple of different low calorie wine companies out there for those of you that feel like you just have to have wine. Picking a lower calorie option is going to be good. You can just Google them because there's quite a few different companies. I know Skinny Girl makes one. She's the same that makes the dressing and all that good stuff, salad dressing. She's got a wine line. Um, I can't tell you how they taste, but I know that it's out there and it's lower calorie. So you can also give that a try. Again, I told you about the light beer. If you're a beer drinker, that's a good option. So, really play around with it. But at the end of the day, try to decrease it and try to figure out, do you, if you need to have a drink to make you more bubbly or more, relatable, whatever the case may be, whatever you're drinking, the liquid courage, as we used to call it back in the day, figure out why, right? Like, I think maybe sometimes we don't like ourselves enough and we feel like we have to be someone else for others. And I really want to encourage all of you to just be yourself because if your friends just like who you are when you're that person, then maybe they're not really your friends, right? And so you need to kind of reevaluate some things. I love to tell everyone at some points in life, you need to crawl into a little bit of a hole and just disconnect from everyone and everybody. And I have to be honest and say that I know this might sound weird, but getting divorced was like one of the best things that could have happened to me. It was definitely devastating. However, it gave me an opportunity to really take some time for me. All my kids were now adults and everyone is gone. And I had time to really focus on me, Maria, not mom, not the wife, and really kind of go inside and dig deep and peel back the layers of the onion and find out what makes me tick at this stage of life because you're always changing. So you need to be mindful of that too. So figuring out what makes me tick at this stage of life and what really makes me happy and then surrounding myself with people who can accept the Maria that I am, and I am a lot of fun and I'm always laughing and clowning and so I want that type of energy around in my vibe and I don't feel the need to drink to have to be there. And if someone doesn't like it because I don't drink, which I have met these people, it's a very real thing. The pressures of others trying to make you drink is a very, very real thing. Um, I'm dug in. I just say no. It's my body. You can drink if you want to. I'm not thinking or being judgmental about what you're doing, but for me and this temple, I'm going to take care of my temple because I'd like to have this temple to stay in for as long as possible. And so I'm going to treat it well and treat it right. And then I'm going to wake up tomorrow not feeling guilty and you're going to wake up tomorrow probably feeling guilty and I don't want that feeling. But I will pray for you. I pray for everybody. I pray for them and I just move on. So um but I think if I hadn't gone inside myself to really learn who I am and get dug in that way, y- it's easy to get peer pressured into something. So I just wanted to share that for anyone that kind of like, yeah, I really want to stop drinking, but it's really my friends and or my family that kind of pushes me to it. Learn how to just say no. That's going to become your superpower. I say no so much now that I'm like, man, I wish I wish I learned how to say no 10 years ago. So, well, with that, I'm going to close out this episode of the Do It Anyway podcast. I want to thank you guys again for all your love and support and joining me on this episode. Again, be sure to watch it on YouTube, Spotify, or Applecast. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate it. The channel is growing, and I am looking forward to another week of spending time with you all. Peace.